Hi, welcome to Sports Rants. I'm Andrew Eaton. We're going to dive right into some of this, and I have a guest here. This is my friend Ryan Schisler.
Hi.
Not much of a sports guy, but that's all right. He has some opinions about some things, and I'm going to just grill him about random things he doesn't know about yet. So, moving on. Our first story is Bonds is actually facing fewer felony charges. He dropped from, I believe it was 11 to now only 5 felony charges. For those who don't know, Barry Bonds is on trial for lying in court about his steroid use. Thoughts, Ryan?
Wait, he lied in court, they can prove it, and he's getting charged less?
I don't know that they can prove anything. They're just assuming that he is actually lying.
Okay, I guess, well, that makes sense, because then they'd charge him for lying under oath if they could prove it. So, okay.
So that's what the case is it's the perjury case. Let's see what it actually says here.
Okay.
Bonds is charged with 4 counts of lying and 1 count of obstructing justice. The revised indictment is the 4th version of the charges against Bonds. Basically, he was brought to trial because he was accused of taking steroids, and I believe he has been caught by people who will not testify, and that's where the big issue is they're trying to prove that he lied. They can't do it yet.
Okay. So it went down because they're having trouble proving?
Probably.
I don't have a problem with that, because if he did it, then make sure you can prove it, and if he didn't do it, and you go on this huge limb that's kind of like what they're going out on, they would screw up big. And they're, accusing a future Hall of Famer, if he didn't do it, of a pretty horrible thing that would get him kicked out of the Hall of Fame.
It would. And on that, in the steroid era, as this is now being known, Mark McGwire, if I'm not mistaken, has already made it into the Hall of Fame. Is it taint, or he's up for election? I'm not sure which it is.
I believe he's up. I don't think he's in yet.
You're right. I think it's too soon. But he has had the home run record until Bonds just broke it.
Yep.
Should there be an asterisk next to these two guys' names if they did in fact do steroids? Now McGwire has admitted to it now. Bonds is not.
You know what? I think you just totally strip him of it. I mean, basically the way the league's treating steroids is cheating. It's the same as corking your bat. It's the same as, well, any other 100 ways you can cheat at baseball that they don't allow, and when they find out you did it, they go back and take it away. It should be treated the same way. Yeah, let these guys in, find out, but make sure they did it or not, and if you find out later that they did it, it's far more embarrassing for them and their families to strip them of a title than it is to not give them one in the first place.
I agree with that now, but I guess the biggest argument is in the early days of baseball, the Babe Ruth eras, the 30s and 40s especially. Babe Ruth is a great example. He smoked a cigar constantly. He was a big drinker. I want to say it was Mickey Mantle or possibly DiMaggio. I don't think it was DiMaggio. I'm pretty sure it was Mantle. Was an alcoholic.
Right.
And then you go into the 80s, and then they were all doing cocaine. And, Pete Rose, he's not allowed in the Hall of Fame for making a bet on his own team. I would hope that you would bet for your own team, but he is not allowed in the Hall of Fame because of this. But all these other guys are allowed, even though it's come to light that they were drug abusers or alcohol abusers. I guess the question then becomes, yes, steroids is against the rules, but so is all this other stuff.
Yeah, but unlike steroids, alcohol, coke, all that isn't going to help you play. Coke doesn't increase your muscle mass. Alcohol doesn't make you stronger. God, I hope not. It's not enhancing your play. If you're pulling off, Mantle's numbers for the era he was playing in, dead drunk, well, that's just freaking amazing. Okay. But to throw steroids in the same boat as alcohol and other stuff, they aren't using this to get a high. They're using this to build themselves stronger, to make their bonuses, to break records, to be the best they feel they can be that they can't get to themselves. And that's the problem. They shouldn't feel they can't get there themselves. They're athletes. They're supposed to be the masters of the sport. They're the best we could find. We don't even just crew in our own country anymore. We grab them from all over to see that they are the best sportsmen we can get. Mm-hmm. And they shouldn't be this predominance all around the league that you need juice to do that. And on the other side with Pete Rose, there's always been a thing in baseball, you don't gamble. Like, that was one of the first things they started putting an end to very quick because they didn't want players canning their own games. They didn't want them betting against their team and stuff like that. Yes, Rose bet for his team. He was betting he'd win. That's a hell of a motivator, so he's probably not cheating. But it's like, it's just one of those rules baseball's always had that you can only play around in it so much. You can bet with the guys, sure, but putting a bet down like he did, I believe he actually bet in Vegas or something like that.
Oh,
yeah. That's, I mean,
numerous times, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. On the side, when you're, with friends and stuff like that, no one's ever going to yell at you for that. No one's going to be able to prove it,
That's true.
Taking out a little ticket with your name on it and all the cash in there. There's a difference between doing it subtly and doing it blatantly, and he did it blatantly, and it's one of those things that the commission's just always said no to, and that's why he's never going to walk into the Hall of Fame. Plus, if you let him in, now every guy is going to turn around and use their steroid money to bet on their team.
This is true. I do. I have to agree with you on that one, actually. I think it's been long enough now that maybe they can forgive Rose. I mean, he's apologized numerous times. I don't think it's that big of a deal. He's betting his own money. He's a multimillionaire. He had the money. Why not let him bet? I get it. You don't want the games fixed because then you would have the 1920 World Series, Chicago White Sox when they the Black Sox era scandal there that the mob fixed the World Series.
Yep.
Yeah, it was. That's probably where it all stemmed from. Where you don't want these guys fixing games.
Comes in, yeah.
But if you look at it, they really gamble anyway. Look at Manny Ramirez. If he doesn't like the way things are going, he wants more money, he just sits. He doesn't play, he just strikes out. He just, he walks into pitches. He's just a lazy guy. Johnny Damon did the same thing. When they get upset, they become divas and they pretty much throw games anyway. They're just like, oh, well, this team can't win without me, so give me more money. No, it's not exactly the same as gambling, but I think if you're gambling for your own team, it shouldn't be as bad as if you're gambling against your team and then try and fix it.
Yeah, but I think just the standards were there and there's the taboo was already there, which is why he's in so much trouble, or why he will never. I don't think he'll ever get in. I don't think baseball will ever repeal that.
No, they never will.
Probably not in his lifetime, at the very least.
Well, all right. Moving on, and this is one that Ryan and I have actually had a brief discussion on, especially on Super Bowl Sunday. He came over to my house. We had a good time, and we started talking about the expansion of the football season to 18 games. Now, Ryan is against this, and I am actually for it, but I'm going to just read a couple little excerpts. They're from ESPN.com, and we'll start with Ryan's side here. This is the Associated Press actually conducted a poll, and it did say that 27% favor expanded season. So it's not great numbers. And this is the poll was conducted between January 21st and 26th of 2011, and it's based on 1,125 interviews, including 482 NFL fans. Of everyone surveyed, 27% strongly favor or somewhat favor adding 2 regular season games and dropping 2 preseason games. Let's see. People say, who's Keller? Oh, this is just a fan. There's plenty enough football as it is. 18 games is too many for players. Those guys get beat up. And then Hines Ward says, no player wants to play 18 games. You're not thinking about the players' safety if you're going to add 2 more games. In other findings on the poll, 72% of all surveyed and 64% of NFL fans think players' salaries are too high. I'm going to get to that and why I read that as well. Now, this is Ross Tucker. He is a retired NFL player. He says he doesn't have an issue with the concept of the NFL's enhanced 18 game season, provided certain concessions are made. His concessions are commensurate compensation increase, which is players look at an extra 2 games and think of increased wear and tear on their joints, increased risk for injury, and more than likely than not, shortened careers. These are legitimate concerns. The only way this enhanced season works is if the players are compensated in a manner that takes into account these concerns. Valid point. He also thinks that they should increase the roster size. The offseason should be a little more relaxed. in the fact that the league would also probably have to dial back the amount of voluntary mandatory off-season workouts. There'd be less hitting. I mean, that's a given. I mean, 18 games if you're hitting full force, which, I have an issue with as well. But less contact in training camp and during the season would also make a very welcome addition to any enhanced season proposal. Those hits take their tolls. I can agree with that. He does go on to say the NFL once expanded from 14 to 16 games in 1978, and you may have noticed that the product survived. I can't read very well. The product survived that increase pretty well and is in fact flourishing.
Snip that in post.
And if you think about it, the wild card teams in the playoffs play an additional game, and that one extra game did not appear to dilute the Green Bay Packers or the New York Jets all that much. His biggest concern with the enhanced season is that it is just a temporary fix, in the fact that people would get tired of an 18-game season and say, well, it should go to a 20-game season, or it should go to a 24-game season, and when do you stop? I would like to just touch on just these articles just very briefly. I can appreciate and agree with him that the expanded rosters would be a good idea. It would be a lot like hockey, where they're constantly, there's only five guys and a goalie, right?
Yep.
5 guys and a goalie in hockey, and at all times, and they're constantly changing. At least the 5 guys. The goalie usually stays more often than not, and they're just constantly changing. I mean, it's less wear and tear on the people. And the Patriots, actually, we're in New England. I'm a Patriots fan, so I know them best. But they did this with their defense pretty much all season. It was a bunch of young guys. They weren't going to go a full 16 games and then the playoffs and play well. And I think they proved that in their playoff game. The rookies showed that they were rookies. But during the regular season, when they really started winning, they were constantly changing out the defenses. Almost every other play, the defense would change. I think if they could do that, it would be great. Now, I suppose the argument against that even would be individual stats. But again, the Tom Brady's and Troy Polamalu's is what he brings up in his article. The Peyton Mannings, the Woodsons, and all that stuff. They're going to have a lot less stats. They're not going to have these individual stats that are ridiculously high and setting all these records. And Randy Moss catching however many 80 some odd catches that he did in one season. I mean, it's phenomenal and it's great to watch. But won't it be great to watch to see? Deion Branch catching all these things, Wes Welker catching all these. I mean, basically what Tom Brady does. The receivers, none of them made the Pro Bowl until someone got injured and Wes Welker got in. But it's so much more fun, in my opinion, to see so many different receivers. And why not get another quarterback in there? By the way, Patriots, Vince Young is a free agent. Anyway,
they're watching at home.
In case they're watching at home. Hey, there's some local guys. So I think an 18-game season is great. It's for the fans. I mean, these players are paid so much money. I think they can handle a couple extra games, a couple less in the preseason, or even keep the preseason games go a little bit lighter, be a little more like spring training where it's just practice, essentially, and then go into an 18-game season. I guess my biggest concern would just be the length of the season. Now, I'm going to let you talk before I keep going, because this will just keep going.
All right. My biggest problem with the extension into 18 games is it's going to make, first of all, injuries are going to be a way bigger factor. You're playing more games, more guys are going to get hurt, they're going to be out for more games, and your key players are far more at risk all the time. Now, yes, if you're saying if they do like you're saying and they make it more like hockey where they're switching out constantly, you can do that, and there has been a flood of great quarterbacks into the NFL in these last 4 or 5 years. I mean, there's a ridiculous amount of talent on Denver's bench. They have 3 great quarterbacks for no apparent reason. And teams like that, this could help. But my reason against it is preseason is actually very valuable. It's really valuable to coaches. It's really valuable to the offensive and defensive coordinators. It lets them get a feel for their rookies and how they would be when they're on the team, far more than practice games were, because you get to see them actually perform. They're out there, the cameras are on them, the other team is there, the crowd is either with them or against them. You get to see how they really are. You get to see how much of the college ball they've shaken off, if they'd make like the mistakes that were made by some of the rookies this year, where like they just put the ball down after because they touched the ground, but no one had actually touched them yet, stuff like that, you get a little more of a warning on. Preseason games are important, and let's face it, it's not costing the NFL any money to put out preseason games. The advertisers are all still there. We still break for ads just as much as we do in any other game the rest of the season. The tickets are still there. They're just not quite as expensive because the game doesn't have any real weight to it. It's all still there and still making money, and the players are still getting a part of it. Now, I see why this guy is saying that they should get more money because now they're real games, and it's going to put more of a wear and tear on the players. And because there are now 2 games that matter, you're going to play your people that count. But football is an extremely physical sport, and I wouldn't want for 18 weeks to put anyone through that. Because, I mean, you made the hockey argument of, they change out and stuff like that. I don't see any NFL team switching out their quarterback. Quarterbacks get in a rhythm. That's how they play their games, and that's how they win. If you pull your quarterback just because he's getting tired or because he's not quite in rhythm yet, he may not get in rhythm for the season because you throw him off. It's a huge head game being QB.
Yeah, I mean, I get that. I understand the issue again, but that's personal stats, and it is a team sport. I did play football in high school. It's not as competitive as just high school. We were terrible, but well, actually, I should say the JV team was terrible. We did make the high school Super Bowl, Division III. We lost there, but we made it, and that was the big game. I've been to the big game, but I guess my thing is 18 weeks is a long season. It is a long season. And you compare it to even the basketball and the hockey and the baseball. They all pretty much last about 6 months. I think basketball is the longest one.
Yeah.
It's like 8 months maybe.
Close to that.
Yeah, because they start in like September? No, they start in October.
I think it's the
and they end
October.
In April. So that is only 6 months.
Yeah, 6, yeah.
What was the one that was really, maybe it was hockey. I don't know. One of them is really long. But even baseball is only about 6 months, maybe 6.5 months. Football.
Baseball's not the most physical sport, though.
No.
I mean, pitchers can be, but they're rotating them out, every 3 innings now? And catchers, really.
No, they have to pitch 5 innings in order to get the win.
No, to get the win. But, if you have a pitcher who is there and blowing it, I've seen him switch it inside the inning. I mean, they have, 4 or 5 pitchers for a game now.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely.
So,
and that's why the bullpens are so important.
And that's the most physical position you play in baseball. And 4 or 5 guys can play it. So
I disagree with that, actually. I think catcher is the most.
Yeah, that would be
physical.
The other one I would think of.
But again, it's. But you look at the football season right now, and it starts. The preseason starts in August. So really, we can't even count that because I'm not counting spring training or anything like that. So we're going September to December is really the regular season. And that's really it. They now have maybe a game in January before the playoffs. And then January is mostly the playoffs. And then the Super Bowl is the first Sunday in February. I mean, 4 months and a week? I mean, that's a short season compared to all the other major sports.
Compared to the other sports, yeah. But it's also a more physical game.
Agreed. So I guess my thing would be, why can't they play 2 games a week? And still have the bye week, still have a couple weeks where they only play 1. But I don't think it would be that taxing to play a second game a week. And you could pretty much double the regular season games. You could have, the quarterbacks be more like a baseball pitcher and rotate. And, the Tom Brady starts on Sunday and then Hoyer starts on Thursday or Wednesday or whatever the case is. And then they can rotate back and forth, and you can really kind of get a feel for who's better with less rest and who's going to be your playoff guy. Keep the playoffs 1 game a week. I'm okay with that. Maybe extend the playoffs. Maybe to pull more, almost like a baseball and do, what do they do, like 6 teams, I think, get in? That's about right with football, though, too. So maybe if they went 8, like hockey or basketball. Top 8 teams, there's, that's half the teams getting into the playoffs. But, it might make it a little more interesting, get the first round bye, get all that stuff still in there. And I don't know. I just think something needs to change. It's getting a little boring. And now with all the new rules and the concussions and all this stuff, and actually don't even get me started on concussions, but the new rules that just make the quarterback a ballerina. They can't touch him. It's just, they're so fragile.
Yeah, there's some discrepancies. There's some stuff I don't like there either. I'm sorry, you're in pads, you're in gear. Yeah, okay, a concussion is scary. In fact, it's downright terrifying, especially if you have one.
Oh, yeah.
But he, signed a contract and said he'd go out there and take a hit. I mean, he's seen football before if he's been in this country ever. So he knows when you go on that field, somebody's going to try and clean your clock. In fact, there's 12 guys on the other side of that line who are all paid to clean your clock if they get the chance. So I don't mind some of the rules for protecting his arm. I think those are legitimate.
Yeah.
And some of the grounding rules and stuff like that. But I don't know. So some of the hit rules could use some adjusting. But I think you're right. I think football does need to change. I don't think 2 games a week is a good idea though, because
not right away by any means.
But I think
that would need to be a kind of an eased.
The problem with football is it's a very it's got its own spirit, so to speak. The spirit of the sport is that the quarterback is like your commander in chief, and he's the guy who leads the team. He's the heart and soul of the team. He's the guy that they're all lining up to defend. He's the guy the defense wants on the field. He's the guy the offense wants to keep safe on the field. And if you make it like the pitcher in baseball, there's no real set leader on the team now. It would default more to the coaches. And
well, I guess what's the problem with that? I mean, again, I'll use the Patriots pretty much always in my
play to your community,
examples.
man. Look where we are.
Exactly. I'm a Patriots fan. I love them. But anyway, Bill Belichick is a genius. I mean, no one can deny that. I mean, he is.
When it comes to football, the man's unbelievable.
No, yeah, and he's arguably the greatest coach in history, in NFL history. I mean, Lombardi is Lombardi. They're pretty close, though.
Stats-wise, they're real.
In fact, Belichick has more titles and more Super Bowl attendances.
Lombardi was older, though, wasn't he?
When the merger happened.
Yeah.
He did have those championships, I think, before the merger, because the Packers did just win their 13th championship, but it's only their 4th Super Bowl.
That's right.
So, when the AFL and the NFL merged, that's really when Lombardi really was in his heyday.
Yeah.
He was a great motivator. I don't know that Belichick's as great of a motivator as Lombardi is. He's just a football genius. And to take that away from him, to take away his ability to coach, and actually someone right before the show brought up Sloan from the Utah Jazz. It's a team sport, so there needs to be a leader, and the coach is supposed to be that leader. Now, yes, there needs to be a leader on the field as well, but that's why you have captains, and that's why you have people on the field that can read the plays and that can, tell the rest of the players what they're doing. But for them, okay. Another example: the Indianapolis Colts. I was going off on a tangent. I don't know where I was finishing.
I
with
don't know
that.
where you were going there.
So my point is with the Patriots, let Belichick lead. Now, the Patriots aren't a great example because they usually do. No one goes up against Belichick. They know. But let's take the Indianapolis Colts. Who leads that team, really? Who calls those plays? It's Peyton Manning.
It is.
It's not the coach. I can't even think of his name right now, but the guy who replaced Dungy. Anyway, he doesn't have control over that team, and even if he does, maybe on the defense.
No, he did. What happened was last season. That's where he lost control because they were going for that perfect season. They were going to do it. Let's face it. The Colts had a perfect season.
Yeah, they would have done it.
And instead of going for glory and giving the Colts the high they needed to probably march all the way to the Super Bowl with that, he instead pulled in the last 2 games, because it wouldn't matter, all his starters, and sent his second-string guys on the field. And let's face it, the second-string guys on the Colts made the New York Jets that year look great.
Yeah, they did. And helped the Jets get into the playoffs.
And helped the Jets get into the playoffs. And just, it was... I almost felt bad watching. Almost.
Except it was the Colts.
Except it was the Colts, and I was living in New Orleans, so it was that much sweeter at the end. But no, it was that moment, that game where like you could see Peyton has, the first time it happened, he was like, okay, like he managed to suck it down and go, okay, this is the new coach. I need to show my respect. And then it did it again the next game, and he was like storming the sidelines. He was just running around breaking stuff almost. Like you could see him just want to throw his helmet into a water cooler and just jam his coach in it. I mean, he was pissed, and rightfully so, because there is an amazing rivalry between Peyton and Brady. And Brady's got a perfect season to point at and 3 rings, and Manning's got 1 ring and a shattered season that should have been now. And to have him have it around the other way would have, the debates would have gotten much sharper on who's the greater quarterback.
Well, I guess the big question is, though, if they had gone for the perfect season and gotten the perfect season, and assuming they had played the playoffs exactly like they did, do you think they still would have lost the Super Bowl? Do you think
I don't think they would have. I think because they'd had the high of a perfect season behind them, I think they would have marched through everybody.
Well, that's what they said about the Patriots with their perfect season.
Yeah, and let's face it, the Giants proved that pretty correct, pretty incorrect pretty quick. But I don't know. That was 2 really good teams in a really good Super Bowl. I mean, come on, that was 2 really strong teams for that Super Bowl that year. It was unbelievable, and I think that spirit breaking, that morale of the team drop cost them far more in the postseason than they were ready to admit, and it made them want it less, just enough for the Saints to want it more.
All right, but in that same season, the Patriots were not playing for anything in the last game.
No.
But they decided they wanted to beat the Houston Texans anyway.
Yeah.
And then Wes Welker gets hurt.
Yep.
And he didn't get to play against Baltimore the next week. And they lost miserably. Now, I'm not saying because Welker wasn't there, that's why they lost. But you run into that issue because there were a lot of dropped passes that Welker would have had. And who knows what the outcome would have been. I mean, maybe in the fourth quarter they would have marched down. They would have scored those last 2 times that they needed to score, and they would have done all this stuff if.
I'm never going to yell at a pro team for going for it. I'm going to yell at them all the time for not going for it. You're pros. You're paid to go out there, play your best, do your best, use the guys who are the best. You are representing your town, your team, your state, whatever you are representing. That's what you're out there for.
Okay, now I'm going to take that and go back to our original argument. That's exactly what I'm saying with an 18-game season. They need to please the fans. They're not there for themselves. They're not there. I mean, I'm sorry, but they're not.
No, they're not.
It's no longer about them. Yeah, they need to provide for their family. Yeah, they need to do that. But when you're making millions of dollars a year, I think you can provide for your family some. Get a financial advisor.
When I make millions of dollars a year, I'll let you know.
Right, exactly. But I mean, I don't know, maybe because we're not in those situations, but, I have someone who I trust with my money, and I have someone who I trust making financial decisions for me. And these guys, they're so about themselves, they're so wrapped up with their own egos that they go out and they spend all this money on these things that they can't afford. And, I mean, how many retired athletes are broke?
Yeah, that's true.
Because they buy these $1 million houses and then they're retired and they're not getting any income anymore. They're only living off of what they had, and they don't have it anymore because they spent it as soon as they got it.
Yeah.
So my thing is maybe that should be a mandatory thing if they go to an 18-game season. Everyone should have a financial advisor as well as an agent, because the agents don't do anything with that because they're just collecting money and putting it in their pockets. I don't think... I think the players need to look at the team. They need to say what is best for the team. And the Patriots have a good thing of doing that because Belichick scares them otherwise. He doesn't let them talk to the media. I mean, the fact that Welker came out and started talking about feet right before they played the Jets, just to kind of go back at Rex Ryan there. I mean, that was shocking. And he probably got fined by Belichick and no one even knew about it. But he benched... I'm sorry, he didn't bench him. He fined Randy Moss and I want to say it was Wilfork, and there was one other person, I can't think of who it was, last season for being late to practice because there was a snowstorm. I mean, but it's true. Everyone else got there on time because they live in New England and there's going to be snowstorms and everything else. The way he runs that team is great, and I think Belichick it won't comment on this. I have no idea how he feels one way or the other. I have no idea how any of the Patriots feel. I don't think he will let them comment on it. The Steelers, they're always very outspoken. The Colts are always outspoken. The Bears, these big teams, they're all out there and they're all saying, no, no, no. What about us? What about us? Well, what about you? If you get injured in a 16-game season, it's no different than if you get injured in an 18-game season. You're out. You're out and you're out and you need surgery. It's more...
No, but there's more chances for that to happen.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's not every game there's a chance. It's every play there's a chance. So you have to look at it. There's literally hundreds more chances for people to get hurt.
Yeah. No, I can appreciate that. And as... I know the game. I played the game. I'm hopefully going to be playing the game again. But that was always what cut my season short was injuries. I'm very injury prone, but I would still at least try. I mean, until a doctor said there's no way you're getting back on that field until you had some surgery or anything else, I'm going to be going out there. I'm going to be doing, again, an example of Wes Welker. He was playing with broken legs and stuff not broken legs.
Well, that'd be rough.
that would be impressive.
I've seen that Madden game, actually.
Yeah, I've seen that too. That was impressive. Even going back in the Patriots' history, Drew Bledsoe, before he turned into the diva that he was, he played with a broken finger. He did. He had a pinky finger that was broken. You look at these quarterbacks now, and they're like,
Brady played last season with bruised ribs, didn't he?
No, yeah. That's why he wasn't really up to snuff, especially come playoff season.
Yeah,
but again, that would hurt. But again, if you have a decent backup, which he didn't. No. I mean, Castle was gone already by that point, and that was the closest thing to a good backup that we had. I mean, that I can think of since before Brady was the starting quarterback. When Bledsoe was the quarterback, they had a couple decent ones, including Brady. But Hoyer's getting there, but he's not there yet, and he doesn't get any playing time because the Patriots would rather blow out a team than rest Brady, and that's where I have an issue. Is even. You come to the last couple games of the season, you're going to rest your starters anyway. With an 18-game season, you're gonna have to go to those last two games still, and even then, there's a good chance that there's going to be a team right there with you because there's more chance for more wins. Now, on the flip side, if you're in the NFC West, you get 10 wins and you've already made the playoffs.
With home field advantage.
Right. They almost got that first round bye, which was really scary. But, I mean, that's my thing. And I think they really need to change the playoff setup because a team like that should never
I think that should come way before more games. Because let's face it, if we still have the problem of just barely 500 or not even 500 teams getting in the playoffs and you're in an 18-game season, the system doesn't work.
No.
Adding more games isn't fixing the problem. It's not making it more entertaining. And now you're having blowouts in the playoffs, which makes everyone feel bad because it's supposed to be the playoffs. It's supposed to be the big games. It's supposed to be the best of the best from all over, battling each other out. These should be close games. They should be either defensive games or shootouts or one of the two. They shouldn't be 42-7, hey, good game. It's the playoffs.
No, there shouldn't be, and surprisingly there wasn't. The Bears did not blow out the Seahawks like I thought they were going to. Like that was.
I think everybody was surprised at that one.
Yeah, in fact, the Seahawks were up at not quite at halftime, but close. Okay. And they won their first game. They beat the Saints.
Yeah, they did. I was kind of in shock. I was watching it and I was just like, guess they don't want to defend their Super Bowl championship this year.
Oh, man, it was... wait, did they beat the Saints? Now I'm questioning myself.
No, Seahawks beat them, yeah.
It was the Saints?
Yeah, I was...
Okay.
Yeah, no,
all right.
Thanks for making me go back there. That was
welcome. Yeah. You're welcome for that
thanks.
one. You're a Patriots
You guys
fan.
lost the Giants, right? No.
It was in the Super Bowl.
I know. It was the one game I watched that season. Because none of the other ones were on TV in Florida, so I was like, "Oh, they're in the Super Bowl. Sweet, I can watch." Oh, why? Why?
Yeah, I like the Giants. I didn't care for them after that, though. It was luck, though, and I don't care what anyone says.
Proves that all of New England should hate all of New York.
It's true. It is true, and I'm sure in future dates I'll be getting into the Red Sox-Yankees rivalry, but we're not going to talk about that today.
Have Megan for that.
Well, yeah. I don't think so. I think someone who I can actually debate with should just be agreeing with me the whole time. All right. I think we've beaten this one pretty well dead. People will write in. You can go on the SCT site. You can go on our Facebook, Sandwich Community Television, and just go ahead and you can talk to me. I think I'm going to try and start my own Facebook page because this is the first show, so we're kind of playing it by ear. We're doing what we can. If you want to discuss things, I'm more than welcome to answer any questions. Not that I'm this huge expert. I'm more than willing to debate you, whatever you want to do. I just want to switch topics for a little bit. And, I don't have any articles for this one.
What you got?
But I don't know how well you know this. I'm not big on it, but I think part of it is because of there's so many teams. It is college football. Yeah. Putting your head down. Okay, you must not know a whole lot about this.
I know some. I've been paying attention more to it lately after being in the South because college football is massively more large than professional football.
Well, you had LSU. I mean,
oh man, did I? Found new ways to spell go. All right.
Yeah. That's right. G-A-U-A-X.
G-E-A-U.
But the thing that I want to like college football, I do. It's great, go Wolverines, go Trojans. Those are my teams. I've liked them forever. But it's so hard to get into it that these teams are working so hard, and then it's just, you get to play the worst team in the league in this bowl that no one's going to watch. And it needs to do a playoff. We were talking about the NFL and playoffs and what needs to change there. The college needs to go to a playoff.
No, it'll never happen. You'd have to make your playoffs bowls. And the whole way college makes its money is it has all those bowl games in that weekend. So the only way to work is they'd have to play an entire playoff in 3 days, and no one's going to do that.
No, but there's actually 3 weekends of bowl weekends. There's the first weekend that nobody watches. There's the second weekend
the one I didn't even know about.
Exactly.
Yeah, that one.
There's the second weekend where it's like, oh, hey, my team's in it, I'll watch it. And then there's the championship weekend, which of course everyone watches that likes college football.
Right.
But I mean, when there's an undefeated team, I think Oregon actually made it in this year, but last year I think they were undefeated. They didn't even make it to the championship. And there was a 2-loss team in the championship.
I know, but that's the whole college rating system thing. That's not...
the BCS. I'm not even getting into the BCS.
I don't even get what high-tech computer program they're using because I have no idea. It's so arbitrary, it seems, that you're just like, who? What? Okay. Go team. Wait, what?
No, but again, the BCS needs to be eliminated, but that's just... I'm not even, like I said, I'm not even getting into that one. No. That one's ridiculous. But if they set it up as a bracket, if they set it up, okay, let's use the NFL playoffs as the sketch.
No, you're better off using like NBA or even like the college basketball.
You want to do like a bracket system?
Yeah, because let's face it, there's that many teams. If you go college football, you might as well steal from what's there.
All right, so let's go with the college basketball and the bracket system, and do it wouldn't be called March Madness, it'd be December Madness, but to get even narrow it down to 16, 32 teams, whatever it is, I think it would be prudent, and you would still have the number 1 playing the number 16. You'd still have that same setup just like in basketball where the best team should be getting in.
Yeah.
They should be. And until at least the Final Four, like in basketball, where really it's anyone's game.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the top 10 teams of college football, they rarely play each other, number 1, unless they face in a bowl. And
that's pretty much it, yeah. Because it's all divisional.
Exactly. And I guess that's my thing is maybe not expand the games necessarily, but they need to do something in the fact that these teams got to play each other in the regular season, or at least they have to go to a playoff so that these teams can actually face each other. Because Oregon and Auburn was a great championship. I didn't watch it, but I did. I caught the recaps. I caught the everything else. the highlights, and it was a great game. It was well played. It was relatively close right up until the end, and it was Auburn. Auburn won, which was a shock to everybody. Everyone thought Oregon was going to take it. Everyone thought Idaho, I think it was Idaho, just came out of nowhere and was like this phenomenal Division I team that had never been any good.
Ohio.
Well, Ohio State's always been in there. They're Michigan's rivals. So no, it was. They were in the top 10. They were actually it was Boise State. That's what it was.
Oh, that's right. No, that was the one. The Ohio dean or something mentioned them in a press release, and they were like, "Wow, they're talking about us already." Yeah. No. Okay.
But at one point, Boise State, I believe, was at number 1 or number 2 for a couple of weeks.
Yeah, for a while.
I mean, they came out of nowhere, and it's like, well, how long has this team been good? Is it just all of a sudden this season they got all the high school prospects? Is it they've worked on the juniors and seniors and sophomores and juniors and to make them into juniors and seniors, to make them so good that they're in, and they're suddenly in these bowl games? I mean, they did make a bowl game. I think it was the second weekend there that I referred to, but they made it and. I think they lost in the bowl game. They lost to a lot of the really good teams. I think they did lose to Ohio, if they even played them. But again, who are they playing?
Yeah.
You look at the SEC. You should, LSU, I think, is in there. Yeah, it's LSU, Clemson, the Gamecocks, South Carolina.
One of the Floridas is in there too.
One of the Floridas.
I think it's the Gators is in there.
Gators sounds about right.
Because they kind of hate each other.
Great teams. I mean,
that's a hell of a division.
It is.
There's several national championship teams there, within 3 years of each other.
And of course, I'm drawing a blank again on the Gamecocks coach, but Spurrier. So yeah, Steve Spurrier, or he was.
Sure.
I mean, he's a great guy. He's a great coach. He's won titles. He molds these guys for the NFL. He does it, and he does it well. But because they're in that division, they're in that the grouping. It's not divisions. What are they called? Why am I drawing a blank in college?
Divisions, isn't it?
Are they called divisions?
Yeah.
Maybe.
Well, no. There's conferences and divisions.
Yeah.
Like,
okay, so they're the
matters,
same thing,
yeah.
and it just depends on what part of the country.
I think they refer them all as conferences, but some of them are like the PAC and some of them are division, and then like.
Well, yeah, SEC is Southeast Conference.
Yeah, so I think they're all conferences.
The Pac-10, Big Ten, I guess.
Yeah, no, that's the Big Ten conference.
So it's
Pac-10 conference. They're all conferences.
They're all conferences. Whatever.
We're professionals and on TV.
I know
for this.
we are great. If you want to be on the show and just make me look like a fool, you're welcome to do so.
Yeah, he gave out his email earlier.
I did. But again, you look at those conferences, and the SEC is the biggest. I mean, they're all really good. But let's look in the Northeast again. They're terrible in comparison. I mean, when you go and you're playing the Michigans, the Michigan States, the Ohios, the South Carolinas, the LSUs, the USC, the Trojans. I mean, you go West Coast, even the Pac-10, even Utah is it's just not. Yeah, the Utes. Is it?
Yeah, that sounds right. I'm going with that.
Yeah, it's either Utah. It's one of the Utah colleges or Salt Lake College, but it's in Utah. They're called the Utes. Even they had a really good run, but in comparison to these major teams, and the Oregon Ducks are they're new.
They're really.
Their last 3 seasons is when they've really kind of picked up, just like this Boise State. And I like that about college football, that they can come from nowhere. These teams they're Division I teams, and you may have heard of them if they're in your conference, but that's about it. Other than that, it's just, it's seemingly coming from nowhere.
Yeah.
And these teams don't have a shot, but they still make these bowl games. I mean, BU, again, they had a good run with Matt Ryan, but were they really number 5 over all the other SEC teams? I mean,
according to the mystical computer that programs things, yes, they were.
BCS. It's. I don't know. I just think if they went to a playoff, it would be entertaining. They could extend the playoff season. They could, and it wouldn't be taxing on the college kids. I mean, I understand that they need to focus on academia first, but
But I think that's kind of what their final games of the season are. Because if you actually look at the college season, it usually is towards the end that the bigger teams and the teams with good records play each other. It's very rarely towards the end that you see an unseeded team versus a seeded team. So I don't know if they're doing that on purpose. I don't know if the computer matching is doing that on purpose. But they seem to be, if not consciously, making a bracket system, implying one so that good teams do play good teams, and that there's a focus on getting the better teams into the bowls rather than just like the unnamed team that's beaten 20 unnamed teams and that's why they're in,
Well, I guess that's the thing though is, yeah, they may be unnamed teams, but you don't know how good they are because they don't play any named teams. And, they could be really, really good. I mean, if there was an example, again, this was a couple years ago, and because I didn't do any research, I don't have anything in front of me that I can cheat off of.
It's Friday.
And it is Friday. So there was a team, and it was your so-called unnamed team, but they were blowing everybody out. I mean, it was like, I think in the whole season, they had maybe 20 points scored on them. I mean, it was sad how well they were doing. And they were considered a Division I or 1A or something. It was right there, right along there, that they would qualify for a bowl game if the BCS even acknowledged them.
Right.
And they did play a ranked team, and they beat them. They didn't destroy them like they did everyone else in their divisions, but they did beat them, and it was by like 3 points or a touchdown or something like that. And of course, it made that team drop from like number 3 or whatever it was to like 25. I mean, because they were still ranked.
Beats a ranked, you're in bad shape.
But I actually almost want to say it was Michigan that they beat, but they weren't doing so well. But again, like you look at that and you just say, well, how good are they? They beat a ranked team, and but they don't play any other ranked team the rest of the season. And they don't make a bowl game, or they do make a bowl game, but it's against another unnamed team, and they blew them out again. It's that first weekend that I was referring to. But I don't know. It's a hot debate. It's been hotly debated for years and years and years. And again, just because this is my first show, I figured, why not get this hotly debated topic out in the open, let everyone know how I feel, tell me I'm wrong. But I don't think you will. I don't think people are going to disagree with me. I think most fans agree with the fact that it needs to be a playoff. Sports Illustrated agrees that it needs to go to a playoff. People have come up with the ideas, and they don't need to eliminate the bowls. They just need to restructure it. That's it. They just need to restructure. The wild card weekend, could be the Tostitos Bowls, and they could have more than one. And then, goes all the way up, and forgive me for taking away from maybe some of these other national championship bowls, but the Rose Bowl is the national championship. I mean, it's the epitome of college football championships. So, yeah, the Sugar Bowl might do it every now and again, and there was another one that usually does it. There's 3 of them, and they rotate, and I can't think of who it is, but
it's not the luau. It's not the
luau is like Tostitos, and it's just
it's just one of those.
It's just one of those.
I think it's another West Coast one.
Yeah, I think.
Because I know the Sugar Bowl is as far east as they come.
Yes, Sugar Bowl is Texas, isn't it?
No, it's Louisiana.
Of course,
it's usually in the Superdome.
There's one in Texas. I don't remember who it is, but whatever it is, it doesn't matter. The bottom line is the Rose Bowl. If you've ever been to that stadium, it's a football stadium. It's a professional stadium, and they take good care of that.
Yeah.
I think that would be the Super Bowl of college. That should be it. Have the other 2 be the so-called conference championships. Again, I'm just applying it to football.
Yeah.
But have those brackets, and I think it could expand it. I mean, they have a Pepto-Bismol Bowl, and they have a FedEx Bowl, and they have all these other things, and it's just like, okay, well, they can get some of these, the Sweet 16 brackets, or they could get when there's the 32 teams or whatever. Each of them can get a game there, and they'll make money, and people will watch it.
It's going to make money and people watch it because if you're doing it in a bracket system, there's going to be a high-end team there, and there's going to be the guys who are just happy to be in that bowl there. That's the two you're going to run into. So making it the bracket system, I could see why that would give it a strength. And you're probably going to end up even needing more bowls, which I'm sure colleges will be happy with because they like to throw a bowl.
And bowls, it's a lot of fun because they can travel to a certain stadium. They can do all this stuff. I think they would have to keep it out of Hawaii, just for that. But to have bowl games throughout, or maybe even just have the title of the bowl be just that. It's a title. And they play, the number one seed gets home field advantage. I mean, that's what they do in the bracket system for the college basketball until they're in like the Final Four and stuff like that. Yeah. And then they go, I know they had one at the Garden last season, and I think the championship was at Madison Square Garden.
Yep. Is this year too?
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think the TD Bank North Garden, which is Boston Garden, let's face it, I think they're going to host a couple games again as well, and it's great, and it gets the Northeast, in there, it works so well with the college basketball. People love it. People love March Madness, and then they get the bracket pools going, and they get all this other stuff, and we're going back to gambling now, but people love pools. People love brackets, and they love doing that stuff. Fantasy football, fantasy baseball. I'm sure there's a fantasy basketball, but I don't think anyone plays. But they just love the fantasy stuff. They love doing that, and I think it's what the fans want, and it's the BCS. And if you eliminate the C, that's how I feel about it. It's it's just they need to be eliminated. They need to be taken down. It's worthless. Let the records show with the strength of season. They do that. ESPN is very good about, saying, well, this team is really ranked 5, but they're really ranked like 8 because they played 2 unnamed teams and they beat them. Yeah. And whatever else. There are stats that can figure that out without going to a computer that just kind of seemingly randomly picks it out. I mean, to have an undefeated team at number 12, it doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, even if it's all unnamed teams, they're still undefeated. They still have the best record. And the best record is what it needs to be. So, well, okay. Now, like I said, I could talk all day about these things, and I will talk all day about these things probably with other people. I think that's probably going to wrap it up. We don't have a whole lot of time to really go into another topic. I want to thank Ryan. He's he's a good friend of mine. He likes to debate with me about random things.
Many times, often.
Many times.
Anything really.
I love debates, and that's why I think I'm going to keep doing it like this style. But if you like it, let me know. If you don't like it, let me know. I'm willing to try and cater to this. I know we have some goals down the line on what we want this show to be, who we want to be on this show. We won't go into that right now, but find Sandwich Community Television on Facebook, and hopefully I'll be starting my own Sports Rants Facebook page. I will let you know where to go on that, and thank you for tuning in, and hopefully we'll see you next week.